Hello, guys. Hi. We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to give a couple of minutes for some people to get on. As you're coming on, please say hi. Tell me where you're viewing from. Tell me what your name is. Today, we're going to be discussing why I feel it's necessary to explain myself to my children. So if you're new at following me or you're new at these lives, me and my friend are doing a challenge where we are going live for 21 days and basically sharing something about ourselves with our audience and um, just to challenge each other, to really focus and work on consistency and work on discipline because that's very important not only in our businesses, but it's important just in life to do stuff consistently and be disciplined at things, right? Waking up at a certain time every morning, no matter how you feel. Um, Going exercising even when you don't feel like it, right? Going to bed at a decent hour even though you don't feel like it or you feel like you have so much to do. Being consistent and being disciplined is very, very important. So as you're coming on, please say hi. Tell me where you're viewing from. Tell me what your name is. Somebody please say something because I hate just looking at the screen. I could obviously see that people are viewing, but you want to feel like you're speaking to someone, right? But before we get started, hey Jasmine, thank you, girl. But before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and open us up with the word of prayer because for the last, I think this is night 6 or 7. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look. But when I start with prayer, the Lord really has his way and takes over. And so I want him to do that again tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and open us up with the word of prayer. I'll then introduce myself and we'll jump right into what I'm going to talk about tonight. If you have missed the other nights, please go back and view them. That we've talked about some very amazing topics lately. And me just really being transparent and honest and vulnerable about my life and just the things that the Lord had to reveal to me about myself, which were uncomfortable, but it actually has allowed me to become a better person, a better, well rounded person. So here we go. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today, God, first and foremost, thanking you for waking us up this morning, God, because we know when you put breath in our lungs again, God, that means our assignment is not complete and you see more in us, God. There's more for us to pour out. There's more purpose for us to complete. So, God, we just thank you and praise you for that. God, I ask that you move in this live tonight, God, that the words that leave my lips, that they will be your words and your words only, God, that they will be the words that your people are looking to hear, God, for clarity, direction, instruction, for peace, for healing, for whatever their situation and circumstances is, God, that they will receive that tonight from you because you are the only one, God, that could use one message to set thousands free at one time, millions free. So, God, I ask that you just have your way, God. I ask that you just do what you do every night and you allow me to be honest, transparent, and vulnerable in the way that is pleasing in your sight. And I just give you all the praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen, 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 amen. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Destiny Thomas, but most people know me as the Prayerapist or Realizing Destiny, and that's because I assist millennial women, specifically in corporate America, hear God's voice for themselves by themselves. So right now in this time and age, we use a lot of resources to hear from God, or we use a lot of signs, or unfortunately, we use a lot of new age practices to hear from God. And we don't really know what God's voice sounds like. We don't really know what it is that our purpose here or our assignment is here. So I work I used to work one-on-one. Now I work in group settings with those particular people to help them hear from God using a 6-step process in prayer that God gave me specifically when I was battling infertility and could not hear Him. Right, but I realized He was talking the whole time. I just wasn't listening. Diamond, go sit down, please. Go home. My dog does this every night. I promise you. I need to lay hands on her, obviously. Um, but tonight I'm going to be sharing um, why I feel it's necessary to explain myself to my children. So if you are African American, and this probably happens in other nationalities or ethnicity homes, but if you're an African American like I am, you hear a lot. Because I said so, right? You ask your parents, well, why do I got to do that? And they say, because I said so, or, well, I don't really want to go to this place. And we're like, well, what did I say, right? And so, my mom was very similar to that when we were growing up, in regards to that being her explanation for a lot of things. And I think a lot of our parents were that way, and our grandparents and our great grandparents. And it's just a generational thing that we do a lot, you know. And I actually found myself starting to do that a lot as well. But then I remembered, and then the Lord reminded me in prayer how that made me feel as a child, right? And how what it did to me internally. And as you all know, most of the things I'm going to talk about is internal work and root work, because that is what I do in prayer, in being a prayer and discernment coach. We focus on the root, because if you don't focus on the root, you just think you're doing stuff just because you do it or just because you saw it, when in all actuality it's because it's attached to something deeper. And so the Lord began to work in me on that area. And he started bringing back to my memory how that would make me feel, but not even how it would make me feel when my mom would say because I said so, but what it made me begin to internalize. And what it started to do is, when I got of an adult age or even a teenage age, when I had the opportunity to really ask somebody, why do I have to do this, or I don't want to do this, I didn't speak up. It took my voice away. And that is usually an attack of the enemy. Not saying our parents were doing that intentionally. That, like I said, that's what they were taught. But I know now, I did not know that then, but I know now that the specific calling that God put on my life is to speak life into others, to breathe life into others, to open my mouth and command change, right? And what better way would the enemy have to stop me from walking in my calling than making me think at such an early age that my voice doesn't matter, that what I have to say isn't important, that me questioning anything is a good thing, right? And I see it a lot in kids who have very vocal children, who they're like, well, I don't really like that. And we're like, you always questioning me. And one thing the Lord revealed to me with my first son, obviously Destin's young, he's only 2 months, so he ain't talking. Well, he's talking, but he's not, we don't understand what he's saying yet. But one thing that the Lord revealed to me with KJ early on was the gift that he gave KJ. One thing I prayed over all of my children, I only have 2, is, Lord, please reveal to me prior to them touching this earth who they are in your word, right? Who are you emulating them after, right? And so the Lord very clearly told me that KJ was Samuel. He was a Samuel. He was a prophet, right? And he was going to, and what does a prophet do? They speak change, right? They command change. They speak life. They come with judgment, right? So they're going to be very opinionated, right? And so when the Lord began to reveal to me who he was biblically, it allowed me to parent him in a biblical way. It allowed me to not be so offended. And let's be very clear, my kids are not out of control, and they don't be, no. But it allowed me to parent him differently. So if he's saying, and not only that, let's just get to the nitty gritty of the situation. That's why a lot of people's children, I won't say a lot of ours, because it's not, I'm not going to speak that over my child, but that's why a lot of people's children are being touched. A lot of people's children are being abused. A lot of people's children are being put in situations that they don't have no business being in, and the parents don't know anything about it. Oh my gosh, the mosquito's gonna bite me. And the parents don't know anything about it, because when the child is saying, well, I don't want to go to Uncle John's house tomorrow, mom, we're like, well, what did I say? I gotta go to work. Where else you think I'm gonna take you? And we don't give the child the opportunity to explain, well, why don't you want to go there? That's your uncle, right? That's your uncle. Why don't you want to go to your uncle's house? And even if it's something as simple as, well, he don't never let me have sweets, you now have an understanding that, oh, it's just you being a child, right? But children are I always say that when children are birthed, they know their assignment. They haven't been tainted yet. So if you're very intentional and attentive to your child, you will know from the time they come on this earth what their gifting is, right? There's certain children that when they come on the earth, they pick up blocks and they play with them all the time and they build them, right? There's certain children that if you give them some paint and some markers, they will create a masterpiece, and they'll be 2 years old and it just looks different because they haven't been diluted by the things of this world. But we as a society have put in our heads that children don't know nothing. They don't need to say nothing, right? Because they're just young. Destin is 2 months old. And I learned this with KJ. the books will tell you your child's supposed to do this by this certain age and do this by this certain age. And because I've always been very analytical, I'll read something, but I'll look at it in a different perspective, right? So yes, this book says that my child is supposed to walk at this age or talk at this age or be potty trained at this age. But what it also says in the book is that from the age of birth to the age of 5, your child is like a sponge. So anything you teach them, they will be able to gravitate it quicker than any other age in their life. So what I got from that, not that, oh, my child has to meet these particular requirements by this age, but if I introduce it to them earlier, they'll be able to catch on to it earlier. So Destin is 2 months, okay? And if I am holding Destin like this and I say, Destin, show mommy up, he'll push his legs up. If I say, Destin, show mommy down, he'll push his legs down, and he's 2 months old. Because I learned that when I used to do early childhood education, that it's not, and that's what a lot of our parents do. Oh, well, my child's not talking by this age. My child's not doing it, so they're behind. No, you did not introduce it to them early enough, because they would have beat all those milestones. Like I said in a post the other day, KJ's 5, but KJ knew multiplication since he was 3.5. And that's because we would play YouTube videos, number blocks. We would put those things before him. And yes, a lot of it he knows by repetition, by just seeing the numbers 5 times 5, 25. He doesn't know how to actually do the whole counting and all of that, but that'll get him further in life by repetition than even learning it, because it's ingrained in his head, those numbers and how they connect, right? So that is why I find it's very, and not only that, but when I tell you my children, or I'll just talk for KJ because Destin, like I said, he's baby, but when I tell you KJ has gotten me together a lot quicker than any adult has ever been able to get me together, because children, they have a connection to God that we don't anymore, because we've been tainted. we've been in the toxicity way too long, that we just our ears are clouded. Whereas a child, they still are very innocent, which is why if you really break this thing down, and I'm starting to think I should have went to school for the mind, but anyways, but if you really break this thing down, if something can happen to a child that will truly dictate how they will be for the rest of their life, wouldn't you think you should take that age a little bit more precious? And realize that, oh my gosh, I have to be very careful what I say in front of my child. And I think a lot of us, the way we think is, oh, well, if I'm not in my child's life during this time, making sacrifices, right? Because I said that with KJ when I was in school. I was like, well, if I go to school right now or stay up really late and don't really get to spend as much time with him before he can talk, right? He's not going to realize, he's not going to remember that because he's so young. And I think we do that a lot with things. Oh, well, I'm going to work and grind right now. Excuse me, I ate some seafood and it's coming back up. But I'm gonna grind and work right now so that when they're older, when they're of age that we can spend time together, they will see that I'm there. No, I talk to people every single day that can remember something when they were 4 years old that their parent wasn't there for. At 4 years old. People who were 5 and 6, who they're like, well, I asked my dad to go to the Donuts and Dad, and he said no. And their dad could have been present years after that, but they remember that moment. Because that's the most precious age of a child, from birth to 5. They're like sponges. They remember everything. They watch the way you move. They watch what you say. They watch the way the way you deliver what you're saying, right? So a lot of us are like, I'll be sitting in the living room sometimes, and KJ plays Roblox with his cousin, and it's very, very monitored. It's just him and his cousin, because I know these games are quite a bit, but it's very monitored. But so they do it as just walking around and building houses. But I'll hear him sometime, and the way he'll speak to somebody, I'll hear myself in it. Well, why did you do that? And that's what I mean when I say KJ has taught me certain things about myself quicker than my husband could tell me, or my mama, or my brother, or any adult could tell me, because I'm seeing it be reenacted in my face, even when it's not the most best feeling, but it gives you time to adjust, right? So like one day, KJ got upset with me, or his feelings was hurt because I told him to do something. And so what he did is after I reprimanded him, I asked him something. I would say, because I always do this to him. So if he gets in trouble and I know he's in his feelings with me, I'll say, come here and give your mom a kiss. Come hug me. Because what I want to teach him is no matter how you feel, deal with your feelings. They're very valid. Be angry, be upset, but never allow that to get in the way of how you love someone. Right? So anytime I chastise him, anytime he's upset with me, I'll say, come here, give your mom a hug and a kiss. Because then he starts laughing because I'm like, give me a kiss, right? And so when I was telling him, come here, give your mom a kiss, he was like shutting, like he would not answer me. He was just like, and I said, you don't hear me talking to you? You don't hear me talking to you? Now he does that to get a reaction on me, so I'll grab him and hug him, right? But what I realized is how it made me feel, him ignoring me. And my husband started laughing because he said, oh, now you see how it feels what you do to me all the time. Because if I'm upset, most of the time it's me processing, like, okay, Destiny, are you going to get over this real quick, or you want to drag this thing out? Like, I'm talking, like, having that inner conversation with myself, but I know how to ignore someone like it is nobody's business, okay? If you want to know how good I can ignore somebody call Nicole, my friend, because we drove for, I think, 4.5 hours, 5 hours. She had made me so mad that I ignored her the whole car ride. Everyone was like, you really not going to say that to her? I was like, no, like, my ig game is strong, okay? The old Destiny, not the new one, okay? But but it allowed me to see how it allowed me to see how I can make other people feel. It allowed me to see areas in myself that I needed to grow. And so that's why I find it's very important to explain myself to my child. I was telling someone the other day that KJ had it was right before school was about to start. So KJ had kids over the house every day for a whole week because my husband had went out of town. So they go to a summer camp. So the kids had to come here before they went to the summer camp. It was just a lot. So the kids were here all week. And then it comes, I think it was Saturday, and KJ wanted his cousin to spend the night. And he was like, Mom, can my cousin spend the night? And I was like, no. And he was so sad about it. And then I was like, you know what, Destiny, explain to him why he can't come over. It's not because you just want to say no. Because if us parents are honest, we're not telling our kids no because we want to be mean, right? We're telling them no because we're either too tired or, we just already have a lot going on. So why not explain it? It's this whole warped mentality that we have that explaining ourselves makes us weak. No, that's what creates a child that knows how to effectively communicate. And that's why a lot of us don't know how to communicate effectively because all we were taught was because I said so. There's no reason to have no conversation. My mom said, I ain't going back and forth with you about this. Right? I ain't going back and forth with you about this. But sometimes it's going back and forth, and not in a disrespectful way. I want to be very clear about that. But sometimes it's willing to go back and forth for your child to understand how to communicate with someone in the future. And so I said, KJ, come here. I said, mommy does not mean to be mean. It's not that mommy doesn't want you to have fun with your cousin, but we have had people here all week. All your friends were here all week, and mommy is really, really tired, and she has to deal with your baby brother, and daddy's not here. And I said, so if you were really, really tired, you played all day, and then mommy wanted you to clean your room before she allowed you to go to bed, how would that make you feel? And he's like, I would be so upset because mama, I would be tired. And I said, and that's how mommy feels. Because if I bring other people over here, then I naturally am going to feel like I should let you stay up a little later so y'all can play. I'm not going to put you to bed at regular time. And then I got to put the baby down at a regular time so he stays asleep a certain amount of hours, right? So, and explaining that to him, I didn't feel like I was less than a mother. Explaining it to him, I didn't feel like I'm weak. I was letting him know that I'm a human being. And the biggest thing I've learned is that parents create this reality to their children that we have to be strong and we have to be perfect. And then when their child wants to be perfect at everything they do and never says that anything is wrong with them, then we want to take them to a therapist, which therapy is needed, right? But there's a lot of stuff, like they say in school, there's a lot of stuff that can be prevented if you started in the home. A lot of stuff can be prevented if you started it in the home. I don't know who this is, but sir, please get off my live. But yeah, so that's why I feel, hey girl, so that's why I feel it is so important to explain your. Sorry, I always do this on Facebook. Sorry, guys. But that is why I feel it is so important to explain yourself. That is why I feel it's so important to communicate with your children certain things. That's why it's so important to be very transparent, because the more human that they see that you are, the more human they will be in the world. We are not parenting children that will be children for the rest of their life. We're parenting human beings that will grow up and be a part of society. And if we don't give them the correct tools to be effective, good people in this world, they will not be. So it's our duty as parents. It's an assignment. We always want our purpose from God, but the things that we already have, we don't take seriously. Being a parent is an assignment. For somebody who battled infertility for years, I know that it's people out here that wish they had that gift right now. So why not take that seriously? Why? And I know this probably gonna make some people unhappy, but why not change your perspective even when it comes to this whole virtual learning thing? My husband and I were talking the other day and said this was actually a blessing from the Lord to us. Yes, it requires you to be uncomfortable. Yes, it requires you to stretch yourself. But a lot of us, the Lord's been telling us to be on a schedule since 2008, and we just ain't did it. And if we had a schedule, it would have been easier to implement virtual learning, right? Like, but this is an opportunity to actually create change. I don't know how many Christians and kingdom people I speak to that say, oh my gosh, my son came home and they were and the teacher is teaching them all types of stuff that I don't believe is biblical. Okay, so now you have the opportunity to have a Bible study in school. There's so many people saying, I can't, the world has changed so much since they took prayer out of school. Now you have the opportunity to bring prayer back into school. Perspective is everything. God is giving the opportunity for his people to change things up, to bring things back that the government or whomever has chosen to take out. But if everything you look at in a negative way, or that's what you're going to see. Every time I would go to work and get stopped at a light and know that it was going to make me later, originally I would be so upset, like, oh my gosh, I thought I left on time today. Why is this light not working? Why is this? And then the Lord arrested me very quickly, because one time there was a very, very bad car accident. A very bad car accident. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, I know for a fact, if I had left my house on time and I did not get stopped, I would have been the next car in that pileup. I know it. There's no question about it, because I went the same route every day. And that changed my perspective. That allowed me to see that everything that seems like a bad thing sometimes is God preventing you from getting into something bigger or worse, or not making it out of something bigger or worse. But we have to learn as a society to stop griping about things and just go take it before the Lord. We're so quick to judge things before we take it before God. He's the only one that really knows why what's happening is happening, or what's happening behind in the spiritual realm versus in the natural. He's the only one who knows. And you could be over here griping and in your feelings about something that the Lord is really setting you up for success with. How I got there, I don't know. Oh, well, changing the school environment. There we go. But back to the original reason for this particular live. I just want you guys to challenge yourself to, if just like I said last night, one thing my husband used to say to me all the time is, how could you say you want to break generational curses, but you want to repeat everything that you saw happen before you? You don't want to break generational curses, because obviously you wouldn't need to be breaking it if it was broke, not doing it the way they did it. God wouldn't need you to be a generational curse breaker. Your parents would have did it. Your grandparents would have did it based on them doing what you saw before you. Obviously, it wasn't right. So no matter, and let's be clear, it's not going to change overnight. I had to realize that something was wrong when I said because I said so, and I had to teach myself and push myself to say. And honestly, a lot of it was the Lord tapping on my shoulder, like, go explain to him why you said that. Like that, like it was like 3 weeks ago. KJ, so I have this thing in my house where I get so frustrated because they touch all of my stuff, right? I'm the only girl here, first of all. They touch all of my stuff and they either break it or lose it. And I'm like, listen, the stuff that you're touching is like very expensive stuff, like my iPad, my headphones. Like, I need my stuff for work, first of all, but I didn't buy it for you to break it, right? And so I had just bought another iPad and a smaller one just so I could use for lives and for KJ to use like when we're in the car, that whole thing. And KJ uses it at the table and spills juice on it. And I'm like, and he just standing there looking at it. I'm like, no, we got to save it. Like, pick it up. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You know, that whole thing, right? Because I legit had just brought it maybe 2 days ago, right? And so even though I was right, because first of all, I told him not to have the iPad at the table when he's eating, right? If you want to watch something on TV, then turn it on the living room TV because we have a swivel, so you can swivel it and watch it from the kitchen, right? If you're having a little snack or whatever. I said, don't take the iPad or the phone to the table, right? So first of all, you didn't listen, so now I'm upset because of that. And then now you got liquid on this thing, and I'm praying it didn't damage it. But immediately when I yelled at him and grabbed it and wiped it off, there was nothing wrong with it. I heard the Lord immediately say, go apologize. You did not need to deliver it in that way to get your point across. I'm like, but God, I was right. Like, he knows. I told him. He said, go apologize. And then what made it even harder a little bit is my husband was sitting on the couch. So I'm like, I know he's going to be like, you got to apologize. Like, you know, if you know my husband, you know what I mean. And so I went and I was like, KJ, I'm sorry. And I went with the right heart. I want to say that because a lot of times we do stuff, but you can tell you didn't want to do it. So why do it anyways? I went with the right heart. I said, you know what, baby, I want to apologize to you because even though mommy is upset and mommy wants you to be a good listener to her, I did not need to yell at you to tell you that I was upset. I could have delivered that in a different way. So I really want to say I'm sorry. And he did the thing that we do, right? You nod your head. And I said, no, I want to make sure you accept my apology. Do you believe that mommy's being genuine with saying sorry? And he said, yes, mommy, it's okay, right? And my husband's like, that was really big of you. So even and I think that's the enemy a lot. Like, they're gonna pick on you, they're gonna laugh at you. My husband even came and was like, that was really big of you to apologize because you weren't wrong, right? It's just the way that you delivered it. But how can we say to other people, oh, I don't like the way you're talking to me. Oh, don't be screaming at me. But then we treat our children any kind of way or talk to them any kind of way. No, that's not okay. It's not okay. And you have to realize that when you do these type of things, what type of impact and effect is it going to have on your child? It really matters. And I promise you, it wasn't until therapy that I actually was able to see things from a totally different perspective, of course, and working with the Lord and him bringing things to my attention, but working with people one-on-one consistently and things they would say. Like, I met with a gentleman one time and he said, my father always taught me how to save myself. So he taught me like how to change a tire, how to do these things. But my dad was married to my mom my entire life. However, he never showed me how to be a good husband or a good father. And that resonated because here's this man who, from the outward looking in, he has two parents in the household, right? The dad, I think, was in the military or he's had a good job his whole life. The mom, did very well for herself as well. But here you have this child who feels abandoned or feels rejected because their parents were present in what they felt was necessary for their roles. No. God didn't make no mistake by needing two parents and by needing a man and a woman in the house to take care of their children. God didn't make no mistake with that. And I'm sorry if my video get flagged for that, but God didn't make no mistake with that. And I see every day that when my husband loves on my son and when I love on him, he loves it both. He would not want just his mom being the nurturer and his dad being the provider. No, he loves his father. He loves his father. He loves, Dad, can you just come into bed and watch this movie with me? Come sit in my bed with me and we watch this movie. Dad, can you come read this book with me? No, he loves that. But those before us have taught us that's the mom's job, that's the woman's job. Is the dad's job is only to go make the money and take care and provide for the house. No, that is very important for each person to be intentional, attentive, and have a voice in the raising of the child. It's very important. And if you go before your child and say, hey, because I did this, KJ, I think KJ was three, I don't know, but I went to KJ and I said, KJ, what do you like the most that mommy does with you, or something like that. And that's when I knew I had to change, because what he said was that mommy goes lives and prays for people or something like that. He said something like that, and I was like, what? Like, I don't, that's not what I do for you. So if your only interpretation of what I do good is doing stuff for other people, that means you don't feel like I'm present. So I have to make a change. And I think sometimes it's hard, right? Because like, I feel like I'm being a bad parent. Okay, be in your feelings, get over it, and let's fix it. But look at it as an opportunity to know before your child is 28, 30, 40, out here just messing up the whole world because they ain't right, because you just didn't want to humble yourself and face things that you could have faced when they're 5 and 4 and 2 months old. I always say it's very cliche and very rah to say I'm called here to be a generational curse breaker, but not acknowledge the work that's required to be that. It requires work. But more importantly, it requires you going against the current. Obviously, everything before you and the direction it was going in it didn't work. So you're basically taking a whole current and pushing it backwards to create change. Just the imagery in that is hard work, right? Just looking at that image, like you're pushing water backwards. Have you ever been in a river or a lake or a pool with, here we have Ocean Breeze where they do the wave pool. You ever try to push those waves? No, they push you, right? So a generational curse breaker is pushing the current backwards. That requires a lot of surrendering of yourself and allowing God to take over, because it requires supernatural. That transformation requires supernatural strength. So that's all I have tonight. I'll be back tomorrow. I gotta figure out what day I'm on, because I mean, this is getting kind of fun, but I still only want to do 21 days, because tonight I was tired. I went and put my dress back on and did something to my hair for you guys, because I was tired. I was sleeping all day, okay? All day. Me and my little baby was in the room, knocked out. And so I gotta see. I think this is day 7, but I truly pray that this helps someone. Sorry, I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Oh, here it goes. No. Sorry. Okay, excuse me. But I truly hope this helps someone. I truly hope, you really, like I said in the last couple of videos, in this season, we want to self-reflect. We don't want to point the finger at anybody else but ourselves. We want to look ourselves in the mirror and say, Lord, where can I be better? Lord, what are some things that I have not been willing to face that has been carrying me the entirety of my life? Like I said last night, I'm finishing a book that the Lord has had me writing for a very long time, and it's called How Therapy Saved My Marriage, but Abandonment Unveiled. And it was in that I realized that abandonment truly was following me everywhere I went. It was like a ghost. that was living in my home. It was like a ghost that was in the car with me. He was everywhere I went. And if you've ever had somebody staring at you from across the room or hovering over you, you know it's there. So I knew it was there, but I wasn't willing to face it. But in facing that, it has unraveled all of this. How to be a better parent, how to be a better wife, how to be a better daughter, how to effectively communicate with my mom and have some very uncomfortable conversations with her of, well, Mom, I know you did the best you could, but this right here, it affected me. When you said this to me, it hurt me. And those conversations weren't easy in no way, shape, or form. But one thing I can say is when you surrender yourself to God, what he does is he does the work behind the scenes in the other parties that you will have to have those difficult conversations with, and their response will be something different than you're used to getting. Because some of the conversations he required me to have with my mom, I was like, no, she's going to be super defensive. She's going to try to defend herself and explain to me of why she made these decisions, even though I know why she made the decision. I'm a parent now. You know now why your parents made the decision, because they thought it was the best decision at that time. Even though 10 years, 20 years, 5 years later, it ended up not being the best decision, right? But they made the decision for your benefit most of the time, right? So I understand all that, and I don't want to spend 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour explaining to me why you made those decisions. I just want you to acknowledge how it affected me and how we're going to move forward, right? Be solution oriented, solution focused. And the Lord did the work that he needed to do in my mom, that when we had those conversations, she was solution focused. She was like, well, I did the best that I could, but what do you need from me now for us to move forward? And it was very refreshing. But I also want to say as well that with some of us, with some of you, that won't be the case. You won't have a conversation with your parent and it be that way. And that is okay, but you can still be healed. You can still be free. The biggest thing I found from prayer, the biggest thing I found from working with God is that we as a society have made our release in people and their response to us telling them what they did or how they affected us. No, your healing, your release is in releasing it. Just letting it go, having the conversation by writing it down, having the conversation in prayer with God, releasing it from your soul and your spirit. You don't need a response. You need to stop carrying it. So I have a lot of my clients write letters to their parents that their parents would never see, very transparent letters. I hated you my whole life. Every time I heard your voice, it just made my flesh crawl, like real honest letters that their parents will never see because they have to release it in its truest form. Because what that does is it allows you to surrender and submit your flesh, and it allows the Holy Spirit to come in and create change and heal. And I hope that blesses someone. I hope someone takes that and actually implements that and receives change from it. Because you may have been feeling like my mom's gone, my dad's gone, they're not alive. And I feel like I'm never going to be able to have that conversation with them. You have it. They don't got to be there. Because they're not the person who creates the healing. It's God who creates the healing. But if we want to be good parents, and all of us do, right? We say, I'm doing this because I want to be a good parent. If you really want to be a good parent, then do the work in yourself. Humble yourself. Be okay with telling God you're broken. One of the hardest lessons I had to face and learn, well, I say one of the hardest, at this rate, all of it was hard. But one of the hardest lessons I had to face, and one of the hardest things I had to take in was when I was battling infertility. God kept saying, because I kept saying, God, you're giving everybody else a child but me, right? And he said, I'm not giving you a child because the parent I am requiring you to be, you can't be in this state. And when he kept saying that, I was like, that sounds crazy. I'm going to be a parent like everybody else. The way we fight God, right? gonna be a parent like everybody else. I'm gonna love my kids. Like, what you mean? What you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. But now it being a full circle moment and me seeing how much he had to do in me for me to be this parent, for me to actually communicate with my children, for me and my husband to be very intentional about how we raise our children, what we allow them to see, what we don't allow them to see. And a lot of times people who put those type of boundaries on their children, they do it in a very legalistic way. No, you got to be able to explain that stuff to your child, but not only explain it, but have several conversations afterwards that they get it under an understanding. Because a lot of children be like, "Well, my mom just told me not to do it, so I don't do it." Okay, but when the mom and the father's not there, that's how they fall to peer pressure, because they're just going based off of what people are telling them is right or wrong. There's no full understanding of it. But we ain't got time for that. I'm too busy for that. I don't gotta explain myself to a child. But at some point, you're gonna have to explain yourself to that child anyways, whether it's when they're behind bars because they're dealing with anger issues inappropriately, because they when it's they making bad choices with their money because you didn't have that kind of conversation. You're gonna have to have the conversation at some point. Why not head it off? You got time. I promise you. We all got time for what needs to be done. But like I said, it's not hard. I mean, it's not easy, guys. It's not easy, but it's required. If you want to be a generational curse breaker and you sign the contract saying, "God, I'm giving you my yes," you agree to surrender some of those things that just ain't right. So I hope this blesses you all. I hope you have an amazing night. Because I do got to put my plugs at the end. I do have 3 spots for the 2-hour intensive. So if you're someone who has wanted to work with me to identify those root things, to get clarity, to get direction, to be able to hear God's voice for yourself. Like I said, I opened 3 more spots just because I want to be able to help as many people as possible, and it is in a group setting. So I would definitely go ahead and sign up for that. If you're on Instagram, the link is in my bio. If you're on Facebook, I'll put it in this live after it is over. It is $247. I'm not changing the price. I'm not taking less than that. The only other option I have is I am doing a 2-payment plan where you can make 2 payments before the class is offered. But the class is going to be, I believe, during the week of the 23rd of this month, so it's very soon. So you don't have very much time to split up the payments, but just for convenience purposes, I'm willing to do that. Once again, the people I work with is millennial women, particularly in corporate, but also if you're at the beginning of your entrepreneurship journey and you want to discern God's voice for yourself, if you want to know this is God telling you what to do, and also have instruction, direction, and clarity of what it is God is telling you to do. If you're ready to be obedient to God, if you're tired of feeling like I move forward, but I go backwards 10 steps, or I move forward 2 steps and go back 18 steps because I feel like I really don't know what I'm doing. Those are the people that I want to work with. And as I said on the last 2 lives, not because I need you to sign up for what I do, because the Lord has done a very well job of taking care of destiny, but because it is very important in this season for us to understand the importance of investing. A lot of us are frustrated because we don't see any fruit. A lot of us are frustrated because we don't see any harvest, but you don't put seed in the ground. There's no garden, there's no farmer that will not put fruit in the ground, that will not put seed in the ground and expect a harvest to come from it. We have to get out of the entitlement. We have to get out of the season of feeling like you owe me something. No, nobody owes you nothing. Your parents don't owe you nothing. They don't owe you an explanation. Your children don't owe you an explanation. I definitely don't owe you nothing, okay? People don't owe you nothing. You have to be willing to show up for yourself. You have to be willing to invest in yourself. And a lot of people, no shade to nobody, but a lot of people want to be in my DM and everybody else's DM asking all these questions. Oh, can you do this and do that? How do I do this? Sis, you got to invest in yourself. Listen, if somebody seen my calendar and my schedule every day, you would, unless you're selfish, you wouldn't want to be asking me all these questions without paying me. And that's just me being very honest. Because me talking to you, me spending time sending you voice note after voice note of what you should do, which I'm not going to be doing anymore anyways, but me doing all of that, it's taking time for my son. It's taking time for my husband. It's taking time for me. I need my own dang on time, y'all. So you have to get to a point where you're investing in your spiritual walk. Pick up the Bible and read it yourself, and then say, "Hey, I read this. Can you give me clarity on? I think this is what it's saying, but what's this? Well, what scriptures would you? No, did you Google yet? Google works amazing. YouTube, it works amazing. Have you sat before the Lord yourself and say, Lord, I really want to hear your voice. Lord, you're my perfect Father. You're my on-time Father. Lord, I want to hear you. I want to know you. Can you reveal yourself to me? Have you tried that? And even those who have tried that and then say, well, the Lord led me to you. Well, then if he led you to me, he know you're going to have to invest over here. He didn't lead you over here thinking I was going to give you nothing for free. So in this season, we have to change our mindset, because our mindset, more than anything, which is ourselves, is what's holding us back from what God has for us, from being the parents we want to be, from being the significant others we want to be, from finding the other person we're waiting for God to send. It's our mindset and what we believe about ourselves and what we believe we're worthy and valuable of. So like I said earlier, guys, I hope this blessed you. I hope you guys have an amazing night. I will see you guys sometime tomorrow. And I'll leave them up so you can go back and watch it if you're not available when I go live tomorrow. But good night, and God bless.